Hello everyone. Welcome to our fascinating journey into the world of plants. Today, we are exploring Pteridophyta, often called the first vascular plants, a group that includes familiar ferns and horsetails. This topic is a cornerstone in understanding plant diversity. We'll start with the basics, then gradually dive deeper, unlocking the complexities of these ancient pioneers. Get ready for an exciting learning adventure. Let's begin our exploration with the easy level, understanding the fundamental characteristics that make pteridophytes so special. Pteridophytes are truly remarkable. They are the very first plants to develop a proper system of roots, stems, and leaves. Even more importantly, they were the first to evolve a vascular system. Imagine this as their internal plumbing, with tubes called xylem carrying water and minerals, and phloem carrying food throughout the plant. Think of beautiful ferns you might have seen, or the unique horsetails. They are perfect examples of these ancient pioneers. This innovation allowed them to grow taller and thrive on land. So, what makes them unique? Well, pteridophytes usually prefer cool, damp, and shady spots, though some can surprise us by living in drier areas. Their body is well organized with true roots anchoring them, a stem, often an underground one called a rhizome, and distinct leaves. A key difference from higher plants is how they reproduce. They use tiny spores instead of seeds. This means you won't find any flowers or fruits on a fern. This vascular system was a huge step, helping plants colonize land more effectively than their simpler ancestors. Time to test your understanding. Think about these questions. First, what is the main distinguishing feature of pteridophytes compared to bryophytes, like mosses? Second, can you name two common examples of pteridophytes that we discussed? And finally, how do pteridophytes reproduce without using seeds? Pause and ponder. The answers lie in what we just covered. Now, let's step up to the medium level. We'll explore the deeper explanations behind pteridophytes' success and their fascinating life cycle. Pteridophytes marked a monumental leap in plant evolution. Their vascular system, comprising xylem and phloem, was a game-changer. Xylem, with its sturdy, lignified cells, not only transported water and minerals efficiently against gravity but also provided structural support, allowing these plants to grow taller. Phloem, on the other hand, ensured food distribution. This internal, plumbing system allowed pteridophytes to overcome the limitations of their non-vascular ancestors, making them the true pioneers of terrestrial plant life and enabling them to explore new ecological niches. Delving into their structure, pteridophytes possess true roots for anchorage and nutrient absorption. Their stems are often underground rhizomes, from which their characteristic leaves unfurl. These leaves can be small, like in spike mosses, or large and complex, as seen in ferns. The most intriguing aspect is their life cycle, which involves alternation of generations. The familiar fern plant you see is the sporophyte, the dominant, spore-producing stage. This sporophyte produces spores that eventually grow into a tiny, independent gametophyte, which then produces gametes, requiring water for fertilization. The life cycle of pteridophytes is a dance between two forms. The diploid sporophyte, the plant we usually recognize, produces haploid spores by meiosis in structures called sporangia. These spores are often found in clusters called sori on the underside of fern leaves. Once released, a spore germinates into a small, heart-shaped, haploid gametophyte, also known as a prothallus. This prothallus develops male and female reproductive organs. Critically, male gametes need a film of water to swim to the female gametes for fertilization, forming a zygote that grows into a new sporophyte. This dependence on water for fertilization is a key characteristic. Now, let's challenge ourselves with some medium-level questions. Can you explain the specific functions of xylem and phloem in these plants? What is the dominant phase in the life cycle of a pteridophyte? What exactly is a rhizome, and what's its purpose? Why is water absolutely essential for fertilization in ferns? And finally, can you list the 4 major classes of pteridophytes and give an example for each? Take your time to formulate your answers. Ready to dive deeper? In this hard level, we'll analyze pteridophytes' advanced adaptations and compare them with other plant groups. Pteridophytes exhibit several sophisticated adaptations for life on land. They develop a waxy cuticle on their leaves to minimize water loss, a crucial feature in terrestrial environments. Stomata, regulated pores, allowed for controlled gas exchange while managing water evaporation. True roots provided efficient anchorage and nutrient uptake. Most importantly, their lignified vascular tissue offered structural support and efficient transport, enabling them to grow taller than their non-vascular ancestors. The dominance of the diploid sporophyte stage also made them more resilient to environmental fluctuations compared to the delicate gametophyte dominant bryophytes. Let's compare pteridophytes with their neighbors in the plant kingdom. Bryophytes, like mosses, are non-vascular and have a dominant gametophyte, remaining small and highly dependent on water. Pteridophytes, our focus, are the first vascular plants with a dominant sporophyte, true roots, stems, and leaves, but still rely on water for fertilization. Moving up the evolutionary ladder, gymnosperms, like conifers, are also vascular and sporophyte dominant, but they produce seeds and no longer require water for fertilization, using pollen instead. This comparison highlights pteridophytes' crucial intermediate position. A fascinating evolutionary aspect is the distinction between homospory and heterospory. Homosporous pteridophytes produce a single type of spore, which develops into a bisexual gametophyte. Most ferns fall into this category. However, heterosporous pteridophytes, such as Salginella, produce 2 types of spores, tiny microspores that form male gametophytes, and larger megaspores that form female gametophytes. This development of separate male and female gametophytes and the retention of the megaspore within the sporangium is considered a critical evolutionary step that foreshadowed the development of seeds in higher plants. Now for some challenging questions. First, detail 3 specific adaptations that made pteridophytes more successful on land than bryophytes. Second, differentiate between homosporous and heterosporous pteridophytes, providing examples. Third, explain the evolutionary significance of heterospory. Fourth, how did ancient pteridophytes contribute to fossil fuel formation? Fifth, compare the dominant life cycle stage and reproduction in bryophytes, pteridophytes, and gymnosperms. Sixth, what specific roles do the cuticle and stomata play in pteridophyte survival? And finally, describe the key differences in the sporophyte and gametophyte generations between bryophytes and pteridophytes. Good luck! Welcome to the hardest level. Here, we'll delve into competitive depth, explore engineering insights, and uncover the intricate details of Pteridophyta's biology and impact. Pteridophytes, while often grouped, are actually 2 distinct evolutionary lineages, Lycophytes and Monilophytes. Lycophytes, including club mosses, are characterized by microphyll's small leaves with a single unbranched vein, and their sporangia are typically lateral. Monilophytes, encompassing true ferns and horsetails, possess megaphylls larger, more complex leaves with branched venation, and usually have terminal sporangia. This phylogenetic distinction underscores their independent evolutionary paths from a common vascular ancestor, highlighting the diverse strategies plants employed to colonize and thrive in terrestrial environments, a crucial understanding for competitive exams. The detailed life cycle reveals sophisticated mechanisms. The dominant sporophyte produces spores by meiosis in sporangia, often grouped into sori on fern fronds. A remarkable engineering feature is the annulus in fern sporangia, a ring of specialized cells that, upon drying, creates tension, leading to an explosive release of spores, maximizing dispersal efficiency. These spores germinate into the tiny, vulnerable gametophyte, or prothallus. Fertilization remains water-dependent, with flagellated antherozoids swimming to the Archegonia. This aquatic requirement, while a limitation, showcases a transitional stage in plant evolution from full aquatic dependence to eventual seed-based reproduction. Pteridophyte vascular tissue, while primitive compared to flowering plants, is a marvel of natural engineering. Xylem primarily consists of tracheids lignified, dead cells forming a robust conduit for water and structural support, effectively overcoming gravity. Phloem, composed of sieve cells, efficiently transports sugars. The organization of these tissues, known as the stele, varies greatly, from the solid protostele in primitive forms to the complex dictyostele of many ferns. This diversity in stele types reflects different strategies for optimizing transport and support, allowing for varied growth forms and sizes, demonstrating a deep biological understanding of structural mechanics and resource allocation in early land plants. The legacy of pteridophytes extends far beyond their current ecological roles. As pioneer species, they stabilize soil and initiate ecological succession. Their ancient ancestors, forming vast Carboniferous forests, played a pivotal role in global climate regulation by sequestering enormous amounts of atmospheric carbon dioxide, leading to significant cooling and the formation of the world's major coal deposits, a direct link to our modern energy resources. Furthermore, some pteridophytes offer engineering insights into phytoremediation, like ferns that hyperaccumulate heavy metals, providing natural solutions for environmental cleanup. Others, like Azolla, are biofertilizers, showcasing their diverse and profound impact across geological time and modern applications. Now, let's tackle these advanced questions. First, differentiate between lycophytes and monilophytes, emphasizing their evolutionary and anatomical distinctions. Second, explain the function of the annulus in fern sporangia and its role in spore dispersal. Third, discuss the evolutionary advantages and disadvantages of the pteridophytes' dependence on water for fertilization. Fourth, describe the different stele types found in pteridophytes and their significance in vascular plant evolution. And fifth, how did ancient pteridophyte forests impact global climate and contribute to Earth's energy resources? Think critically for these answers. Continuing with our hardest questions. Sixth, elaborate on the concept of phytoremediation, providing an example of a pteridophyte used for this purpose. Seventh, compare the vascular tissue components of pteridophytes with those of flowering plants. Eighth, discuss the ecological role of pteridophytes as pioneer species and in soil stabilization. Ninth, explain the symbiotic relationship involving Azolla and its agricultural importance. And finally, analyze how the transition from homospory to heterospory in pteridophytes paved the way for the evolution of the seed habit in higher plants. These questions require a comprehensive understanding. And that brings us to the end of our incredibly detailed exploration of Pteridophyta, the first vascular plants. I hope you've gained a deep appreciation for these ancient pioneers and their crucial role in plant evolution. From the basics of their structure to their complex life cycles, evolutionary significance, and even their impact on Earth's history and modern applications, we've covered it all. If you enjoyed this journey and want to explore more such engaging content across various subjects and levels, remember to visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting educational videos. Keep learning, keep exploring.